Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my future card Buddyfight Sun Dragon Soleil deck profile for October 2025. Hard to believe we are reaching the anniversary for the 10th anniversary booster set. It's almost been a year since we received that set for future card Buddyfight, so I figured I'd honor the time frame with one of my favorite decks in the game, being the Soleil Sun Dragon Impact Monster deck from Future Card Buddyfight Triple D, with Dragon as the main go-to buddy monster in the deck, and all of the setup, whether you want to go for the Impact Monster play or the Soleil setup with your Dragon cards that we run in the deck. It's a really awesome deck, and I feel like it deserves the update with the 10th anniversary support, since I've updated plenty of other ones on the channel since we've had the 10th anniversary support release. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So our world for the deck is obviously Dragon World, with our buddy monster being Apical Sun Deity Dragon, along with this monster being our buddy. We are running 4 additional copies of this monster in the main deck as well, with the call cost being to pay 1 gauge and put the top card of your deck into its soul, and counteract with the Bestis Better Ball. You call up to 1 grade 2 or greater monster with Dragon or Soleil and its card name from your drop zone on top of this card without paying its call cost. You may only use this ability once per turn, and damage dealt to your opponent by effects of Sun Dragon monsters with this card in the soul cannot be reduced. So if you have this card in the soul of your Soleil or your Impact monster, it just helps with the fact that your opponent can't use any of their own cards to counter this card's abilities, whether it be the damage-inducing Impact monster abilities or Soleil's own damage abilities while it has cards in its soul. The setup with that card also works well with the setup of our next version of Dragon, being Sun Deity's Fragment Dragon. When this card enters the field, you may pay 1 life. If you do, put up to 1 monster with Soleil and its card name from your deck to your hand, and shuffle your deck. If this card is in the soul of a Sun Dragon, it gets Penetrate. Having the Penetrate option with our Soleil Revival Buddy makes the triple attack option for our Revival Buddy Soleil all the better thanks to this card. The one thing you have to watch out for with this deck is obviously the size limit, since the majority of our Dragons are all size 2. So then once you have a second one, you'll be over the size limit and lose one of your other ones. But most of the time, Sun Deity's Fragment is mostly just there to add the Soleil from our deck to our hand by just paying 1 life. More setup for more of our resources in the deck include 3 copies of Style of Impact Dragon for the call cost of just being able to pay 1 life. Dragon Force, when it enters the field, choose and use one of the following 2. Dragon Force can only be activated once per turn. You can put the top 3 cards of your deck into your gauge, or put up to 1 Sun Dragon item from your deck to your hand. So being able to search out our item, which is our Dragon Force Sun's Bullet, which is another card that will reduce the number of copies of in the deck, just for the fact that we can run more Dragons themselves to be able to search out those cards, or set up the gauge to then be able to give us more of a use for our Impact monster. And then the last form of Dragon that we run in the deck before we go over Soleil is Egg of the Sun Dragon. Being a size 0 monster, it can just be set up on the field all the better. When it enters the field, put up to 1 size 2 or greater monster with Dragon or Soleil and its card name from your deck or drop into the drop, and shuffle the deck. And you may put this card from the field into the soul of a size 2 or greater monster with Dragon or Soleil and draw a card. So draw power, but also setting up your soul for your soul guard of your monsters on your circles. And then the Sun Dragon with this card in the soul cannot be destroyed, and its soul cannot be dropped by your opponent's card effects. The soul dropping is a big part of this card, just added protection, because if your opponent tries to get around your monster's soul guard ability, you can use this card as added protection for your soul guard of your monsters on your center or left or right. And then the only non-Soleil monster that we run being the 3 copies of Loyal Dragon Flare Fang. If you have another originally size 3 Sun Dragon on your field, this card's size is reduced by 1, meaning it can remain on the field with your Bow Soleil. And when a size 2 or greater Sun Dragon monster enters your field, put the top card of your deck into your gauge and draw a card. This ability activates once per main phase and once per final phase. So when you replace your impact monster, you can also have the additional draw and setup thanks to this card also, which works when you need to use the gauge as additional card effects to then use for your other impact monsters we run, like Bow Dragon, Bow Saucer, Infinity Strike. And then the versions of Bow Soleil that we run in the deck include 2 copies of Transcend Sun Dragon Bow Soleil Future and 2 copies of Super Sun Dragon Bow Soleil Revival Buddy. I would say Revival Buddy is definitely one of the better options to go for. If you wanted to run a full 4-copy count of this card, it would be no issue in the deck. But Bow Soleil Future is mostly in here for the added power boost that it can provide as well. And then the added critical plus of Bow Soleil Revival Buddy, both having triple guard and Soul Guard, and then just being able to use Bow Soleil Future for the center nullification of your opponent's monster, and then being able to choose a monster from your opponent's center and may pay a gauge, and then drop a soul from that card and put it into the drop with Bow Soleil Revival Buddy. Just preference of which one you want to run, either or. You have the attack boost with Bow Soleil Future, and then just the call cost of this card as well, and then the use of Bow Soleil Revival Buddy for that added pressure of being able to hit big against your opponent's center, and the triple attack they can provide as well, along with all the other Sun Dragons you may have put into this card's soul beforehand to do so. And then the impact monsters that we run include 2 copies of Bow Dragon, Bow Burst, Smasher, Revival Buddy. If Bow Soleil Dragon can't finish your opponent, this impact monster definitely will, with triple attack and Soul Guard and the call cost of putting it on top of a Sun Dragon monster in your field and paying 3 gauge. When it attacks alone, if it attacks your opponent and all their monsters instead, and during the battle this card attacked alone, your opponent cannot use counter. With triple attack and Soul Guard and a attack cost of 11k and 4 damage, it's all the more terrifying for your opponent to go up against, because this card could, at 10 life, just end your opponent right there if Bow Soleil Future did not. And then for a card that can just go for more of the grind against your opponent if the attack option isn't there, for Bow Burst Smasher, you have Bow Dragon, Bow Saucer, Infinity Strike, having the option to restand along with your Dragon Force Sun Bullet, which we are running 2 additional copies of, because this card can be searched with our other Bow Dragons that we run in the main deck, with the release condition being a size 2 or greater monster with Bow Dragon or Bow Soleil is on your field. So then you can just equip this item thanks to that, and then having the restand power as well, and it cannot be destroyed or returned to the hand, and its abilities cannot be nullified. And when it attacks with another Sun Dragon, you stand this card. So as long as you do those link attacks with your Bow Dragon, you'll be able to restand your Dragon Force Sun's Bullet as well. For these spells, we're running 4 copies of the new Green Dragon Shield Revival spell, having the option of not being able to be nullified, and you choose and use one of the following 2. You can either counter for this turn, the next damage you take becomes 0, and the next damage from your opponent's card effects becomes 0, or you can draw a card and put the top card of your deck into your gauge, and for each card on your field, you gain a life, and for each card on your field as well. So more setup for life gain, and then just the additional draw power of being able to use Green Dragon Shield Revival spell on your own turn. The 4 copies of Super Sun Dragon Shield, having the additional boosted effect depending on if you have a Sun Dragon on your field, you draw a card. A Neo Dragon, you put the top card of your deck into your gauge, and if you have a Black Dragon, you gain 1 life. And since Bow Soleil counts as both a dragon from Darkness Dragon World, and Star Dragon World, you'll gain all 3 of these abilities when you use this shield against your opponent, and you have this monster on your field as well. And then we're also running 2 copies of the new Buddyfight 10th Anniversary spell from the Anniversary set, having a counter to choose and use one of the following. 3, you may only cast Buddyfight 10th Anniversary once per turn. During your opponent's turn, if you have 7 or less cards in your hand, you can return up to 3 cards from your hand to the deck and shuffle it, gain a life, and draw a card for each card returned. Or for this turn, choose up to 3 cards with the same attribute as your buddy, and they get plus 20,000 in critical +1. And you can return any number of monsters and items from your drop into your deck and shuffle it. So recycle power as well, just being able to choose and use one of the following 3 gives you more of a recycle option, a power boost option, or just a hand recycle option, depending on which one you you want to use. This could be a potential 4 of if you wish. Just drop the spell count for Sun Deity's Buddy and then the Warlord Sword Release for more copies of this card. And then the 4 copies of Sunshine Power Charge with a counter to choose and use one of the following. Put up to top card of your deck into your gauge and gain 1 life for each different world name monster in your field. So with Soleil, that's 3 of for each. You can call a size 2 or greater monster with Battle Dragon or Soleil from your name from your drop without paying its cost on top of a Sun Dragon monster in your field, where it comes in handy using the Soleil Future and the Soleil Revival Buddy to then just reverse each one of these cards on top of one another, depending on the Sunshine Power Charge you want to use. The 3 copies of Sun Deity's Buddy, which once again, this card can be dropped down if you want more copies of the 10th anniversary spell. More setup with having Soleil, life gain, and draw power as well. And then the 2 copies of Grace of the Sun Deity, added protection. For this turn, you cannot take damage by your opponent's card effects, or you can choose a card from your field, and this turn the chosen card cannot be destroyed or leave the field, or its soul cannot be dropped by your opponent's card effects. So protection for your Soleil as well, if it's on the left or right circles, with the last of the spells being the 3 copies of Warlord Sword Release. Once again, drawing cards equal to the number of different world names of cards on your field. So if you have Soleil, just by paying 1 gauge and 2 life, you'll be able to draw 3 cards thanks to this spell alone. And this could be one of the other cards you wanted to drop down for the 10th anniversary spell if you have it, running a 2 of count, so you can both use the 10th anniversary spell and this card in tandem depending on what you draw. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy. Like I said, I was very happy to look back on one of my favorite Buddyfight decks and update it for the anniversary of the 10th anniversary. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.